Hold on. Here. End goal. That's the key phrase. Why would he tank his reputation and his credibility on purpose? There can only be one reason. There can only be the one thing, the one moment in time. It was absolutely worth it. Mr. Gambit, you claim you've no reason to lie because you've done nothing wrong. I'd like you to add that statement to your testimony. Oh, well now, that's interesting. Alright, Redhorn, I'll play along. Enough playing around. Giving him his chance to explain himself. Time to take this kid gloves off and show what he really was up to. Here comes justice. Alright, here we go.
Hold it!
But your story is too difficult to believe. You've already pointed out the problems with what you claim.
Objection!
Come on, Redhorn, learn to take a hand. You've done a lot of grasping at straws to try and poke holes in my story. As I said, you've yet to point out a reason why I'd make up such an elaborate lie. Face it, you've got nothing on me. There's no reason for me to swap the letters on my purpose. Is it really so unbelievable that I really did just mess up so badly? When there's no reasonable way for you to make such a mistake, yes. Hey, I've already explained myself. You can choose to believe it or not. Unless you have evidence showing I had other intentions. Doesn't really matter what you believe. Evidence to show Aiden Gambit's true intentions. Am I really ready to show what he was really trying to do that day? Gambit's testimony's pretty vague. Oop. Alright. Aiden is right. He has no reason to lie about this. He has to be telling the truth. That's the only way this makes sense. Yeah, it's hard for me to think of a reason why he would lie about his motivations. Sharing this with us hurts his image. Why would he do that if it's not the truth? Oh, we've lost Juror 5. I must concur. Allow me to play the devil's advocate, if you will. Play the devil's what now? Oh, we're not summoning demons, are we? Will, please. It means arguing for the other side for the sake of debate, dingbat. Why are those two seated next to each other again? Now, obviously, on the outside, it seems like Mr. Gambit has no reason to lie. If he was hiding something even more scandalous, perhaps the need to keep that a secret would justify the damage done to his reputation by this lie. Something even worse than this? Like what exactly? Oh no, I had the foggiest idea. It was just a suggestion. I've said, I've been given no reason to distrust Mr. Gambit. As well you shouldn't. Everything he said is true. Ruining his reputation to save face about something else. That sounds awfully similar to what we just went through with Manny Steele. Here comes justice. Let's present the remote, shall we?
Objection!
You claim to have done nothing shady? Please. We both know that's a blatant lie.
Objection!
Oh, please, don't give me that bull. If you're gonna start accusing me of something, you better start presenting evidence. I don't really need to present anything at all, Mr. Gambit. Oh? After all, you've already done that for me. Hmm? What do you mean, Mr. Justice? How has the witness already presented evidence for you? It's exactly what I've said, Your Honor. Aiden Gambit already gave us the evidence of his wrongdoings during the larceny trial. Afraid I don't follow. Please elaborate, Mr. Justice. Aiden Gambit is lying about his reasons for swapping out the letters. We have to ask, why exactly would he swap out the letters to begin with? What's the purpose of causing all this deception and confusion? What would he have to gain by making himself seem like an utter fool? Unless, of course, telling the truth would mean confessing to something much worse. Oh, much worse? All his decisions can be traced back to one moment during the trial. One moment that explains what his true motivations has been all along. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, it's the moment of truth. It's time to prove what really happened on that day. Beep. Nothing happened. Yeah, heck, even the swapping of the blackmail letters just goes to support the fact that he bumbled his way into here, and his theory bombed out. Alright, nothing happened. Stop, did you not catch it? Let's see it again, one more time. Ladies and gentlemen of the truth, of the court, it's the moment of truth. Time to prove what really happened on that day. Right there, that's when it happened. Aiden Gambit claimed he wanted to test his theory about the motorized pulley. He put on quite a show in front of the court to make himself look like a fool. A show he's still putting on to hide his dark intentions. When he pressed that button, need I remind you what the remote was connected to? You can't be suggesting. Aiden Gambit, you intentionally obfuscated evidence from this court. You swapped the blackmail letter to lead us off the trail. You pressed the button on the remote that ended Corey Rupture's life. There's only one reason you would do any of this. Because you were the one who broke into Mr. Edgeworth's office and planted that remote. You were the one who planted the files in Manny Steele's office to frame him for larceny. You were the one who set up the trap in the vents above the crime scene. By getting Manny Steele convicted of the larceny, you separate the two cases, and therefore the remote gambit fails because the remote that's in the office does not actually connect to the pulley in the office. And heck, even the story given with the remote doesn't make sense, because the remote was still found in the office. So how did he get out? There's just a whole lot of unanswered questions there that the remote just became completely inconsequential to, leading to Manny Steele being a convenient scapegoat for the larceny, keeping the larceny crime separate from the courthouse crime. And wow, this is savage. It's all you, Aiden Gambit. I hereby indict you for the murder of Corey Rupture.
Yeah.
Order of the court. Mr. Justice, this is unbelievable. Are you really accusing Aiden Gambit, a fellow attorney, of murder? Uh-oh, dark age of the law. I am, Your Honor. When he pressed the button during the larceny trial, that was the moment Corey Rupture died. Actually, I first began to suspect that Mr. Gambit might be the killer. When I was told during recess about the events that happened during the larceny trial. The moment of Aiden Gambit pushing the button on the remote stuck out in my mind. I could hardly believe it at first. It seemed too unreal. But there was no denying there was a confirmed moment during the trial when the remote was used. Not to mention a person confirmed to have used it.
Objection!
Not a bad idea, Redhorn. Gotta admit, you had me speechless for a second there. The sheer audacity to accuse me. I oddly have to respect it. But you know, if you want to dance, it's not gonna be that easy. Well, what are you talking about? I'm talking about holes in your accusation. Things that don't make sense. So you want to say I set up this elaborate trap to, create an alibi? The lawyer's ultimate alibi. I was in a trial at the time. I can get behind that. What I can't get behind is doing that. Doing that would basically hang Steele out to dry. If I pressed that button knowing that it was connected to the other pulley, why would I put the entire case on the line to do so? Why would I need to make a big show of it? I could have just pressed it under the desk. Why go through the effort of destroying my entire case just to do so? Mr. Gambit makes an excellent point. With remote in hand, he could have killed Corey Rupture at any point during the trial. Why would he wait to present it as evidence before doing so? Make a big show out of using the remote? Think, Apollo. Killing Corey Rupture was his only motive. He could have done so at any point during the trial. Judge has a point. And yet, he waited until he could present it as evidence to do so. Must be a reason. Something evidence law. Connor, there's a simple reason why Mr. Gambit used the remote in the way he did. Huh. To create an alibi, to be dramatic, to throw the trial. I would have to think it'd be to create an alibi. And Gambit wanted to make sure he had an alibi for the time of the crime. By presenting the remote as evidence, he could ensure nobody would suspect him. I hardly need to point this out, but there is a hole in your theory, Mr. Justice. It goes without saying, but simply attending the trial would be enough of an alibi. As a matter of fact, it's arguable using the remote in this manner would have hurt his alibi. After all, it drew more attention to the action that supposedly killed Coy Rupture. His goal was to simply create an alibi. Why not use the remote in a less conspicuous way? Oh, that's a good point. Then he wanted to be dramatic? Let's concur with Mr. Edgeworth. It makes very little sense. You'll be penalized for this error of misjudgment, Mr. Justice. Alright, so there must be another explanation. Alright. To throw the trial. I accidentally clicked that option, and it's right. There's one aspect of the larceny trial that's been bothering me for a long while. Something Emma and I discussed during yesterday's investigation. Just when things started to seem like they were going his way, he decided to bet his entire case on one single piece of evidence. So I take it that decision didn't go so well. He crashed and burned right at the last minute. If he wasn't so adamant about the fact that he needed only one piece of evidence, the kid might have stood a chance. It just seems so odd to me that he would risk his entire case on one move. This, of course, unless his plan from the beginning was never to win the case. Aiden Gambit went in with the intention of throwing the trial? That's correct, Your Honor. It's likely he always had Steele planned as a fall guy for the larceny. Make it seem like he had exhausted every possibility and still failed to prove his innocence. He would end up ensuring Steele would be found guilty without a chance of appeal. Steele would be unable to claim ineffective assistance of counsel if it seemed like Mr. Gambit did his best to defend him. With Steele convicted, nobody would suspect the larceny and murder were connected. Yeah, that definitely makes a lot more sense with everything we just went through with Steele's confession. Steele obviously has other motives to everything we went through with Steele and his confession kind of planted that thought in our head. We just ran through the gambit of the connection between the cases. If Steele is guilty of larceny, then it's a separate case. It's not involved in the murder, and it has to be involved in the murder because we just discovered the 2 remotes and the 2 pulleys. We just sorted all that shit out. So, yeah. By murdering Rupture and convicting Steele at the same time, he'd killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Unbelievable. A plan to destroy the lives of 2 people at once. Fortunately for him, Coy Rupture's body was found by the defendant, Hercule. Because of this, the trial was put on hold before Steele's verdict was declared. By sheer happenstance, his plan to destroy Steele's life was also put on hold. After the defendant stumbling upon the scene, the truth may have been lost forever. So you see, the entire case was a setup to lure Manny Steele and Coy Rupture to their dooms.
Objection!
You know, Redhorn, this isn't funny anymore. I'm sitting here watching you slander my good name for too long, I think. Luckily, I know just how to shut down this crap coming from your boo-hole. What's he planning now? Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that I did set all this up to take Steele and Rupture down. Why go through all the effort to do that? What'd they ever do to me? You describe me setting all this up like I've been planning some grand revenge scheme. But I got no beef with either of them. I'm just a simple defense attorney. Not to mention, you've yet to say what all this has to do with me swapping out the letters. I asked why I'd do that, and you just started accusing me of murder out of nowhere. Indeed. Your accusation against Mr. Gambit would have to relate in some way to his decision to swap out the blackmail letters. Do you have any evidence that could answer all of these questions? Its motive for wanting to take revenge on Steele and Rupture, as well as his decision to swap out the blackmail letters during the trial. There can only be one reason why he would do any of this, and why that was given to me. Time's up, Justice. Let's have your answer. Evidence to prove Aiden Gambit's motive for committing his various crimes. AS-10. Don't forget AS-10. There's one thing it all comes back to. The AS-10 incident. How'd you get those files? Recognize them, do you? That makes sense. These were the files you stole from Mr. Edgeworth's office, after all. Yeah. Maybe Gambit did use the pulley and the remote to get in and out. It just left the decoy remote in the office with the other pulley. The perfect setup for his crime. These files pertain to the double homicide that happened 13 years ago. A married couple was killed on that day, with their young son witnessing the entire ordeal. The child, Jonathan Seething, was nearly assassinated while in police custody. Despite his wounds, he took his place at the witness stand to testify. In the end, the defendant was given a not guilty verdict. Yes, I remember the events of that trial quite well. My brother was the one who oversaw the trial and gave the verdict. Now tell me, Your Honor, do you find it any coincidence that everyone involved in that case is involved in this murder? Corey Rupture, the victim, was the defense attorney who won the not guilty verdict. Manny Steele, the prosecutor, who failed, was used as the fall guy for the larceny. Even your brother was the judge who oversaw the case. And his office chosen as the scene of the crime. You're saying Aiden Gambit tried to get revenge on all legal professionals? Ooh, who were involved in the AS-10 incident? Oh, I didn't even consider that. It was in the judge's office, so the judgey handed down the not guilty verdict. So if Judgey had handed down his guilty verdict on Manny Steele, then we'd get to a later point in time when Judge would go back to his chambers, discover Corey Rupture's body, and probably be charged with his murder. That's correct, Your Honor. That is cold. Wow. By sheer miracle, your brother was spared from his revenge. Because Herqual Erie, the judge from one room over, was accused of the murder instead. Unbelievable. It's obvious that he didn't account for the defendant coming across the body. He likely planned for the rope that hung Corey Rupture to only be cut after your brother had returned to his chambers. Because of the sharp edges on the ventilation door, the rope was cut too early, thus alerting the defendant to the presence of the body. That explains why the murder occurred in my brother's chambers. The killer really did plan to frame my brother for the crime. Also, this music is a very eerie choice. I love it. However, this just leaves one problem. Problem? What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? The defense claims that the killer's motive was to take revenge for the AS-10 incident. However, the name Aiden Gambit doesn't appear a single time in these case files. Why take revenge for a case he's not involved in? Are you really sure that's true? I believe there is a place in these case files where Aiden Gambit is mentioned. I can point it out to you right now. I'm afraid I don't see it for myself, Mr. Justice. You're gonna have to point to you're gonna have to point out to the court the page where Aiden Gambit is mentioned. Understood, Your Honor. Sure, reading through it might seem like Gambit doesn't come up once in this document. In truth, all I need to do is think outside the box. It's not an instance of showing where Gambit's name is mentioned. Rather show that even if his name isn't there, he is still mentioned in these case files. imagine it's gotta be the case summary, because that's where Jonathan Seething is mentioned. Let's take a look at the page labeled case summary. It's on the page where it's on this page where Aiden Gambit is mentioned. It does, but his name isn't listed here. It's just a summary of the people involved in this case, as well as a brief snippet about Jonathan Seething's testimony. That's correct, Your Honor. And that is why this is the page where Aiden Gambit is mentioned. Oh, that got a reaction. He's gone completely silent. I know I must be on the right track. It's true that the name Aiden Gambit doesn't show up once in this document. The reason for that is because the man we know as Aiden Gambit is a fake. Hold on, Mr. Justice. What exactly do you mean by that? Exactly what it sounds like, Your Honor. No such man such as Aiden Gambit has ever existed. It is a pseudonym. A pseudonym? As in, Aiden Gambit is a fake identity? Edgeworth New? That's correct, Your Honor. I believe one of the people listed here on the case summary page is his true identity. Mr. Justice, the only person that could possibly be is... It's exactly who you think it is, Your Honor. Huh. Aiden Gambit has been hiding a dark secret, one he's held for 13 years. A tragedy that befell him when he was young, and the hatred he's stewed in ever since. Hatred he's felt for those who ruined his life, those who let his parents' murderer roam free. Your name of the man on the witness stand is Jonathan Seething. Order! Order! Mr. Justice, this claim you're making, it's incredulous. That Jonathan Seething is alive and well, and here in this courtroom. Is it really so difficult to believe, Your Honor? 13 years ago now, Mr. Gambit would be 9 years old. The exact same age Jonathan Seething was during the AS-10 incident. Huh.
Objection.
Mr. Justice, do you even know what you're saying? Or just that you slander John's name, or the name of Mr. Gambit like that? Shut up.
Objection!
The idea that John Seething and Aiden Gambit are one and the same is a possibility you can't deny. Won't let you or anyone else get in the way of the pursuit for the truth.
Objection.
Will you shut up? Don't care what truth you think you're reaching, it's bogus. Mr. Gambit did his best to defend me. He's not a murderer. You little... And John is dead. He's not coming back. He's gone. How dare you slander his name? Let the dead rest in peace. You monster. Why, Mr. Steele? Why do you continue to defend him? He's trying to throw you under the bus. He's trying to make you take the fall for his crimes. Can't you see that he's just using you? Why won't you open your eyes to the truth?
Objection!
That's enough, Mr. Steele. You had every opportunity to tell us the truth. Every chance you had, you told us lies and refused to give us the answers we seek. We are no longer interested in anything you have to say. Oh.
Objection!
You already have my confession. What more do you want? You're the chief prosecutor. Why would you take this easy win for your case? Hey, I'm not interested in an empty victory based on lies. I want is the truth. I don't care who I have to fight in order to get it. Even my own subordinates would choose to obfuscate the truth from me. And we are truly living in the dark age of the law. You wish to prove me wrong, then do so right now.
Objection!
My God, you little worm! If I was told the truth is your John is... Hey, idiot, this is your lawyer speaking. One time I need you to shut up, and now you decide to start flapping your gums. Now, of all times, you speak up. Maybe it would have been helpful a lot earlier. But no, only after you've lost the chance to make a difference do you actually talk. Why? Because you're useless. That's why. Aiden! Just sit in the corner and twiddle your thumbs like you always do. Let the actually competent lawyers do the talking. The facade of Aiden Gambit is starting to falter. Now we're starting to see the true man that lies underneath. It's almost impressive how weak and pathetic Manny Steele is in this game. Like, it's almost admirable how firmly pathetic Manny Steele is depicted as in this game. It's almost admirable. He's well and truly a pathetic man. And I'm admiring how we are depicting his character, and how he is staying true to his... He is staying true to his centrism here. Nothing will change, and that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. That fucking... Realistically, that Edgeworth line should have been, like, the ultimate... What a cold yet composed shutdown. We are no longer interested in anything you have to say. Setting it loose all at once. This must be the real Jonathan Seething. Now then, Redhorn, you want to play ball? Let's play ball. You want to claim that I'm John Seething, the kid from that case Steele prosecuted long ago? You're saying I went through the effort of swapping out the blackmail letters for both cases. Also, I could, what, identify myself with the larceny? Doesn't quite make a lot of sense, does it? Not really worth Seething. Why would I accuse myself, huh? That's a good question. Maybe the reason he swapped the letters had something to do with him being Seething. To be honest, I'm kind of lost on where to go from here. Won't have an answer, huh, Redhorn? It's okay to admit defeat, you know. You messed up, and you didn't know what you were doing. Draw a complete blank. Don't know what to say. No, Justice, pull yourself together. The case is resting on the edge of a knife. I can't afford to get tongue-tied now. For Justice, I am losing my patience. Failure to provide an adequate answer will result in a harsh punishment. I better not mess this one up. Think. Apollo, think. The reason Seething accused himself of the larceny was... This is... Oh, let's actually look at the options here. Confess to the crime to prove it wrong. Waste the court's time. I figure it could be 2 or 3. 2, prove it wrong, being because he knew that his revelation would fail. Because his identity was well and truly in place. So if he proved it wrong, if he leveled the accusation out there, he started raising questions of ghosts and shit. And it'd be pretty easy to prove wrong when the remote stun inevitably fails. Also, wasting the court's time gets the discussion sidetracked talking about ghosts, but that also sets up proper point in time where he needs to press the switch. Could be either of these two, and I'm going to start by proving it wrong. But ask the members of the court to consider the following. Was John Seething accusing himself really so detrimental to maintaining his alibi? What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? Are you suggesting it actually helped him? In a weird sort of way, it actually might have, Your Honor. Mr. Seething had no intention of winning the case. His argument was always meant to be bogus. If he went into the trial knowing that, he could take advantage of it. If he sprinkled truths among the lies, you could make them seem false as well. His accusation against himself would just be discounted as another part of his theory. Actually, by that logic, he could reveal huge chunks of his plan and get away with it. If it used to enter Mr. Edgeworth's office, his intent to frame Manny Steele, as long as his theory was disproven by the end, it would all be discredited. What mattered was that the pulley didn't work, that he'd be home free. He hid the truth by disguising it as a faulty argument. Order in the court. Simply astounding. The culprit finding an alibi through accusing themselves? Wonderfully creative. Like, holy shit. Well then, Aiden Gambit, we should even still call you that. I believe that answers all your questions, does it not? Hold it. Vera? You? How could you? Vera, you're still here? Vera? could you, Mr. Gambit? No, Jonathan Seething. Ever since my father was killed, I've been trying to figure out who to trust. But I thought I could trust you. I thought you were kind like Apollo. But you used me for revenge, for murder.
Objection!
Uh-oh. Oh, please, save your breath. Really not interested in hearing a lecture from a dirty forger.
Objection!
Alright. You have no right to talk to her like that, John. Not when you're the one who put her through all this.
Objection!
Oh, give it a rest with that crap. You think you're a big man, huh? That you're the big hero who saves the day? Got a newsflash for you, Redhorn. You're just a lawyer. Not some grand savior fighting for truth and justice. You're just another cog in the system. Just like all lawyers. I don't know who's been filling your head with these delusions of grandeur. But you aren't fated to bring about some big change. You aren't special. Take it from me. No fixing what's rotten to the core. What is he talking about? What is he trying to say?
Objection!
You say many words, yet there's not an ounce of substance in them. After all, you have still yet to try and rebut the defense's claims. You really need me to? His arguments aren't even worth acknowledging. Then you still deny your involvement in the crime. Why, do you think I'm just gonna confess on the spot because you can't get my name right? Redhorn's entire argument is based on me and John Seething being the same person. Is there any evidence to prove it? Not a chance. That should be easy to prove. What we need to do is take a DNA test or a fingerprint analysis. Uh-oh. I'm afraid it's not so easy. What do you mean? Gives me no pleasure to inform you of this, Mr. Justice. Somehow, our records of Jonathan Seething's biometrics have been lost. What? Oh. He somehow managed to successfully unperson himself. Order in the court. Mr. Edgeworth, how could this have happened? Remains a mystery to me as well, Your Honor. For some reason, all records pertaining to Jonathan Seething were purged from our system. How? How could Seething have purged his own records from the system? There's no way he did it on his own. He must have had outside help. Did he get Steele to do it? He must have gotten someone. Or is something else going on here? What a shame. Nothing you can use to connect me to him. Guess that means you lose, huh? Seething. Might have to wipe that smug grin off your face. But without any evidence to show Gambit and Seething are the same person. No, this isn't over yet. Edgeworth? Oh, for crying out loud, what do you want now? I want just one thing, Aiden Gambit. Your testimony. My testimony? About what? What more do I even have to talk about at this point? I want to hear you tell this court why you cannot be Jonathan Seething. Please enlighten the court about this matter. Edgeworth. At this point, there really is no question about it. Somehow I managed to convince him. He's on my side. That, I don't know what all this will accomplish. Fine, it'll get you off my back or whatever. Time to take you two down a peg. I'm not John Seething. Alright, let's hear it. I hate to break it to you, but John Seething is dead. He's been missing for years. Me? I've always been Aiden Gambit. You can look into my earliest records and see that. If I really was John, how would I be able to fake a new identity when I was just a child? It doesn't really matter since I didn't know Steele until the trial. I've never met Corey at all. I submit it, Redhorn. There's no evidence in the world that can prove me and John are the same. Just how long are we going to play this game, Mr. Gambit? When are you going to stop hiding the truth from us?
Objection!
You know, Edgeworth, I just can't understand you. Not that I don't know your MO or anything. I know your reputation. Can't really decide if you want to be a prosecutor or a defense attorney. Pursuit for the truth doesn't mean I'm thinking of a career change. Whatever. Point is, you're notoriously fickle. Hey, you're behind the times, Aiden. I already beat that game. I've already chosen the prosecutor's path. Point is, you're notoriously fickle. And look, I get that's your whole shtick and all. Don't you think this is the wrong time for this? Beg your pardon? mean, you got this whole trial set up so that you can test this, Jurist System? Kind of defeats the whole purpose to test it when one side isn't really doing their job. Makes a valid point, Mr. Edgeworth. Understand wanting to pursue the truth. You'd think the jurors should be able to reach the truth themselves. I understand the concern, Your Honor. It's not a decision I make lightly. That being said, it is my creed to pursue the truth, no matter what. This situation changes nothing. I will not stand by and let anyone lie to my face. Be I chief prosecutor or not, be this a test for a new system, I will not abandon my creed. These courts should pursue the truth, jury or no jury. I understand, Mr. Edgeworth. I just ask that you be careful. Okay, fine. Don't come crying if this bites you in the ass. Edgeworth is putting a lot on the line. If he's not careful, he may draw the ire of the jury. Hell, I may have drawn their ire too. Can't imagine Juror 4 is happy with me. We'll have to do some jury polling and see how Juror 4 is feeling. But he's also right. Jury or not, the truth comes first. It doesn't matter what they think of us. I'll drag the truth out from Seething yet, no matter what it takes. This is going to be a very interesting cross-examination. Let's see where this goes, shall we? But you're the one who accused John Seething during the larceny trial. You're the one who suggested he's still alive to begin with. So what? What do you mean, so what? You should know what I'm getting at. You would have made the accusation if you thought he was truly dead.
Objection!
This does disprove your earlier argument, Apollo, but... on, Redhorn, you really don't see the obvious explanation here? Please enlighten me. Obviously, when I made the accusation, I did believe John was still alive. But now I've come to accept I was wrong. He's been gone 13 years, dude. Nobody goes away for that long comes back. Ever.
Objection!
I know for a fact that isn't exactly true. And I knew him missing for about 15 years. He was still alive after all that time. By all accounts, he had also been presumed legally dead long before he was found again. It's really so hard to believe Jonathan Seething could also return to us. That Gustavia? I mean, I feel that's a bit of a false equivalent here. You're talking about a grown man going missing. John went missing when he was a child. In practice, it should hardly make a difference. See, you say that, but a grown man going missing can mean many different things. Maybe something happened to him. Maybe he went missing on his own terms. Kids typically don't have the means to go missing forever on their own like that. Someone did something to the kid, and to me it smells like Grim was close by. Touche. Hate to admit it, but he's got a point. It's doubtful he went missing on his own, especially when under constant supervision. Who helped him to go missing, and why would they do that? Tell the maiden, there's no way that kid is still alive. Weren't you on his side when he accused the kid of the larceny? That was then, this is now. Oh, the fickle mind of the raging Stan who needs to touch grass. Now, let's all remain calm here. I may ask, what exactly makes you so sure that the young Jonathan is dead? Well, the kid was almost killed once, yeah? Stands to reason they'd come after him again. I think this time, though, there wasn't a mysterious savior. No way out of it. Kid's probably in a shallow grave somewhere, rotting away, never having gotten to grow up. Oh dear, the poor boy. I think someone would have the nerve to murder a child like that. How could they? We don't know that for certain. There's every chance that John Seething is still alive today. Alive and standing at the witness stand.
Objection!
Crafty, still on that, are you, Redhorn? Let me tell you, that's just wishful thinking. Even if I were John and I managed to survive the massive hit put on my head, do you really think I'd take a job as public as a lawyer? That's just suicide. But you managed to keep your identity hidden for 13 years. It wouldn't be a risk if nobody knew who you were. Hey, lay off. He keeps telling you they're not the same, so just shut up. Judge, tell him to shut up already. Prefer your honor, and I don't much appreciate being ordered around. That being said, without evidence that Jonathan Seething is still alive and well, I'm afraid I cannot side with the defense on this matter. Come on, that's not fair. How am I supposed to prove that when all his records were wiped? Too bad, so sad, Redhorn. All the signs point to John being dead. Accept it and move on. Your earliest records? What exactly would those be? Your birth certificate, maybe? Well, actually, no. I don't have a birth certificate, per se. What do you mean by that? The truth is, nobody actually knows who my parents are. When I was young, I was given to an orphanage with a pretty bad case of amnesia. Amnesia? Order the court. So you actually have no recollection of anything before your life at the orphanage? Nope. Nothing doing. And my DNA didn't match anything in the system either. So Seething's records were erased right after he went missing. Can't have been his own doing then. Someone else must have pulled the strings here. Our toll just keeps going, just goes deeper and deeper, Alice. So with no idea who I was, we were out of options, had to start from scratch. A letter of no record under the name Aiden was adopted under the family name Gambit. The rest, as they say, is history. Ah. This is all too convenient. I don't believe for a second that he actually has amnesia. What should I do? Should I raise an objection? We will leave that in be for now. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything I can do here. Just gonna have to let him continue his testimony. Alright, let's see. I don't believe the defense's words for a second, Aiden. I know you are who you say you are. I've seen you in action. You've always been my Aiden. Well, I mean, what if he is an Aiden Gambit, though? What if Mr. Justice is right? What if Mr. Gambit was replaced by an impostor? That's, not the point I was trying to make. Hey, try and listen to what he says next time, you dingus. Regardless, the spirit of the questioner still remains. What if Aiden Gambit truly isn't who he says he is? I mean, it could be a possibility, but I don't know. It seems pretty hard to buy. Mr. Gambit seems pretty confident in his identity. I just can't imagine faking that. Well, I don't know. Faking confidence is what I do for a living. Seems possible. Yeah, but you're a trained actor. Mr. Gambit isn't exactly that. We were all there during the trial. The person we saw was Aiden Gambit. There was no doubt. Yeah, I've seen Aiden up there so many times. I know what he's like. I know who he is. He's not some low-life murderer. He's a hero who protects the hopeless. My point is that he takes pride in being Aiden Gambit, and that pride doesn't seem fake. Everything we know about him is fake. Wouldn't lying about that have taken a toll on him? Who's to say it didn't? If everything about Aiden Gambit is fake, then maybe his entire attitude is fake too. Look, Redhorn, there's no real point trying to fight anymore. Jury's all on my side with this one, because they know I can't fake this. Can't we just accept that I am who I say I am and move on? Why discount the idea completely? Children can be smarter and more resourceful than we give them credit for. I don't think that really covers how ridiculous the idea is. Talking managing to forge an entire identity on my own. Managing to fool the government? Oh, if I was John, I would have just lost my parents too, so I'd have no resources. You're saying I did all this at the ripe old age of 9? Well, I'll say one thing. I'm flattered you think I've always been this smart. And you know, now that he says it out loud, certainly the idea seems ludicrous on its face. There's simply no way it would be possible for Jonathan Seething to pull this off on his own. Well, of course. That's assuming he didn't have outside help. What, you're saying someone else changed my identity for me? Maybe that's what Manny Steele did. Simply a possibility. I won't say for certain how you may have done it at that moment. However, I would ask not to completely write the idea off. Then comes Edgeworth with the say. Well, you two can theorize who changed my identity until the cows come home. But theories are always hardly going to get you anywhere at this stage. Maybe this is what Manny Steele is hiding. Is still hiding. Indeed, if some outside factor was responsible for changing Jonathan Seething's identity, then who is responsible and why did they do it? This line of questioning is pointless if you cannot give me a concrete answer for this question. Therein lies the problem. I don't have a single clue. It really is all theoreticals. There's not a single shred of evidence to back it up. The only thing I know for certain is that Aiden Gambit is John Seething. Must find a way somehow. that doesn't sound very possible to me at all, I don't think. Poor John was so young when this happened to him. It's tragic. How in the world could he have faked his identity coming from that? You can't rule out the possibility. Must have had a way. John Seething is alive. Excuse me. You know how hard it is to fake your identity? I've written articles on this. Do you know how hard it is for adults to keep up the lie? How is it you lawyers are always saying the dumbest things imaginable? Why are you always so quick to get off on me? Oh, now, let's calm down. There's no reason to get angry. Sorry, I'm just getting sick of him saying ridiculous stuff without backing it up. Regardless, Juror 2 is right. It's not impossible for John to have faked his identity per se. You gotta go through the effort of getting paperwork done or forging it yourself, which isn't easy. Then you gotta try and scribble the traces of your old self anywhere you can. That's also a hassle. All the while, you have to pretend that you're actually dead and hope you don't actually simply slip up. Needless to say, it's a lot to ask for a young child. You, sound like you're speaking from experience. No. Just a gal who's done her research. I'm just saying, changing your identity is harder than just doing it. She got a point. It certainly can't have been easy. And if he has a way, it would bring a ton of hardship over the years. Was it really worth it? Clearly he must have thought so. But you must have known the two of them before. Why else would you have taken Steele's case if you didn't know them?
Objection!
I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a lawyer and that's my job. Fair point. You're always so quick to assume malicious intent from everything I do, Redhorn. I swear, it's like you're trying to reenact a scene straight out of Arachnid Man. Order! I want pictures of Gambit with his hands in the cookie jar. Well, I'm personally a bigger fan of Malcolm Melendez as Arachnid Man than Patrick Porter. Hang on, that's not the point here. How can we be so sure? You actually had no ill intent when you took Steele's case. Arachnid Man. Oh god. Well, you just have to trust me, aren't you? As it stands, you don't really have any proof I knew Steele or Coy before I took the case. But surely you must have at least heard of them at some point, right? No, Steele, not really. He was famous for one case that happened when I was a kid. Coy, though, it was hard not to hear about him. That dude was a piece of work. Been hearing so much about this dark age of the law. It's in all the papers. Coy's pretty much become the poster child for this dark age stuff. Controversy follows him. That doesn't mean I wanted to kill the guy. I'm not that petty. Hey, you see, I never held a grudge against either of them. They did nothing to me. Not like you can somehow prove they're deeply involved in my past, after all. He's right. Don't know enough about his past to comment on it. What I need is someone from Seething's past to prove he has a relation to the two of them. Possible I could find someone like that. They're closer than I think. Just better start searching. Someone from Let's see what the jury thinks. So did Steele come to you about the case? Or did you come to him? Ah, well, normally, my clients are the ones who seek me out about these sorts of things. Guy's in trouble calls a lawyer people are recommending. I'm sure you've heard it before. This time, though, I sought Steele out. Thought his case sounded interesting. If you didn't know Steele, how did you find out about the case? News outlets mainly. They picked up the story and ran with it. Breaking news! Rogue prosecutor becomes lowly thief in prosecutor's office scandal. That sounds like a defamation lawsuit waiting to happen. Well, it's not defamation if what they say is true. This doesn't sound like they're treading lightly, though. They see. I didn't need to know Steele beforehand to take his case. Just needed to call his number, and he was eager to have me on his side. Have me, the legendary Aiden Gambit. Yeah, I suppose that makes sense enough. Hey, wait a second. No, it doesn't. Hold on just 1 second. If you didn't know Steele before taking the case, how'd you manage to call him using his number? Oh? Well, obviously, I misspoke. Clearly, I meant to say I called him using the phone at the detention center. My mistake. That makes even less sense, Mr. Gambit. Shortly after being arrested, Mr. Steele posted for bail. Bail was deemed null after Corey Rupture was found dead. Until that time, he was not being held at the detention center. Interesting. Of course, you would know that, being his lawyer. Hey, that's right. How would that make any sense? Right, well. Right, phone books. I looked up in a phone book. Do people even still use those things? Regardless, pretty clear to me he's lying. He somehow knew Steele's number. This would be my chance to prove he knows Steele from his past, but do I have the info to prove it? To think closely about how I want to approach this, one wrong move could spell trouble. Do I have any way storing how he knew Manny Steele? I'm going to not. No good. Can't say for certain how he knew that phone number. Maybe now is someone who can tell me more about Seething's past. Why would you use the remote that killed Corey Rupture? Why would you set up your own client, Manny Steele, for failure? Only someone with a grudge against both men would do something like that.
Objection!
That's all stuff you made up in your head, Red Horn. Can't prove Corey was hooked up to your complicated death trap used in murder during the murder. But all the evidence points toward him being in the vents at the time. And doesn't mean he was hooked up to the bully. As for Steele, I just thought all my evidence would prove him innocent. Really so hard to believe I just wanted to help my client out of the kindness of my heart? It is when you almost got him convicted. I made an amateur mistake. I got too cocky, that's all. Won't make a mistake like that again. After all, I'm Aiden Gambit. Of course, right when I thought I had broken his facade, he falls right back into his Gambit persona. I believe it's an old saying. Why attribute to malice when what you can attribute to incompetence? It is, of course, assuming malicious intent cannot be proven. Hell, you have a heck of a time trying to prove it, then. Not like you have anything tying me to Seething, after all. I hate to admit it, but he's right. Can't prove he's Seething with any information I have. Doesn't mean I can give up. Just need to keep at it. Can't let him sow doubt into me about who he really is. I already know the truth. My entire case relies on Aiden Gambit and John Seething being the same person. Problem is, Seething's been careful to erase all traces of his past. There has to be something. Some sort of weakness he overlooked. Must be something even he can't account for. Something he couldn't control. Maybe don't have to do all the work. Maybe the jury can help me figure some things out. Find the weakness and exploit it. I'm sure when I'm due, I'll arrive at an amazing truth. Yeah, you tell him, Aiden. Show that red horn who's boss. Oh, please, not you two. Well, it's difficult for me to say for certain if Aiden Gambit is linked to Jonathan Seething. Difficult to say? Are you kidding me? It's as clear as day. That red horn is clearly just making things up for his client. Guilty. I vote guilty. Just following the truth the evidence has left behind for us. The only explanation is that Aiden Gambit is John Seething. Lies. It's all lies. All of it is untrue. Whoa now, Juror 4. Calm down. You don't want to throw your voice around, do ya? I think I just did. Can't tell which voice I would want to be yelled at more. Look, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, Mr. Justice. It's clear you just lack the evidence to show how Aiden Gambit played a part in all this. Yeah. Nothing I have in the court record says for certain that Gambit is seething. Maybe what I need is something different than evidence. I need someone who knows who he is. A person like that exists that could close this gap. We have Manny, and we have our other point here. Out of curiosity, let's raise an objection here. What we've learned so far is that you have no records of your past. It's still very possible for you to have been John Seething before your earliest records.
Objection!
Alright, Red Horn, let's do this your way. Assume I was John before getting amnesia. What then? Does your argument kind of fall flat when I can't remember anything about who I was? Can't get revenge on people I know nothing about, after all. You could be lying about your amnesia. You can still know who you are.
Objection!
That's not what my doctor thought when I saw him. Before I was dropped off at the orphanage, I was brought in from in front of a doctor. He gave me the official diagnosis. I'm not a good enough actor to fool a professional. But who was your doctor, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, I don't know that a name you should be familiar with. Palmeractus. Oh! That's a name I wasn't expecting to come up at all. Palmeractus was a corrupt doctor who was known to work with shady figures. He was the victim of a murder case I took on a while back, so he's not alive to verify anything. But that name in and of itself is going to be a very important connection, meaning I can't exactly call him to the stand as a witness. Still, I can't give up hope. I need more information about Seething's childhood. And maybe I can disprove this whole amnesia spiel. Since you grew up in an orphanage, I need more information. Please add that detail to your testimony. Whatever, it's not like you'd be able to do anything with it anyways. Orphanage, huh? Oh, Orphanage! Juror 1 is an orphanage worker from a city up north. There was a significant gap in your life before you were taken to the orphanage. This is all starting to come together now. Oh shit. There was a significant gap in your life before you were taken to the orphanage. It's very possible you were John Seething before that time.
Objection!
How many times do I have to say this, Red Horn? I don't remember that time. There's no past beyond that. Insisting that I must somehow remember isn't going to change anything. But John Seething lost both his parents. You being an orphan just makes it more likely you are the same person.
Objection!
Mr. Justice, I also find Mr. Gambit's story very hard to buy. However, him being an orphan isn't exactly concrete proof he is Jonathan Seething. Hardly need to tell you there are plenty of orphan children out there in the world. I know that, but... Let it go, Mr. Justice. This is not the right angle to attack from. Fine. I have another question for Mr. Gambit, anyways. Yeah, what is it? How happy exactly have you been with your life from the point you entered the orphanage? What? That's some kind of trick question? I came here to testify, not to chat about my life. Can we just get back to what really matters already? He got defensive when I asked the question. He doesn't want to talk about it. He's hoping to show that anger is still there. But he still holds that resentment. Only had some way of knowing what his life in the orphanage was like. This is very interesting. Let us poll the jury. You were orphaned as a child. Consider me surprised. What's that supposed to mean? Are you suggesting he's any lesser for being an orphan? Oh, whoa, hey, I never said that. Just never would have even considered. I mean, he seems so happy with his life and all. What, so he's not allowed to be happy because he's an orphan? Is that it? That's not what he meant at all. I'm an orphan too. Mr. Wright, help me! I don't know how he's supposed to help your habit of sticking your foot in your mouth. Now, lady, there's no need to fight. And I, for one, am very proud of you, Aiden. You are? Of course I am. Why, I remember it just like it was yesterday. There you were on the front doorstep, knocking on the door with a card in your hand. You were just about the saddest look on your face, looking all scared and alone. Look at you now, a lawyer. You've come so far. Oh, wait. Boda? Is that you? Of course it's me. So nice to see you again, Aiden. They know each other? I never saw that coming. It sounds like they've known each other for a while, too. Maybe she's my missing link to knowing more about Seething's past. Did I press her for more information? Well, well. Let's do that. Juror 1, a moment of your time, if you please. What is it, Mr. Justice? It states in your file that you work for an orphanage up north. What you talked about just now, that was the moment Mr. Gambit joined your orphanage, right? Oh, yes, it was. I was Aiden's caretaker for a spell. My apologies for not mentioning it sooner. Never expected it would be such an important detail. You and me both. Perhaps you can answer a few questions about the state he joined the orphanage in. Could be a vital clue in discovering more about his past. Well, he wasn't exactly in good shape. They said he came to us with a business card in hand. That was all he had, except the clothes on his back. He's in a bad state, completely catatonic. Never talked to anyone. Wouldn't eat. I also want to point out that as a result of that objection we pressed, we now have Palmeractus in our profile section. Keep that in mind. I worried for him, truly. When I took him to the doctor, that's when I saw my biggest shock. There was a nasty scar running along his back. The poor thing. That's why I'm so proud of how far he's come. He's almost like a different person now. Yes, I'm starting to get a clearer picture now. It's clear to me that Mr. Gambit went through some kind of traumatic event before happening upon Juror 1's orphanage. Not to mention he has a massive scar along his back. This traumatic event was clearly the AS-10 incident. It has to be. And the scar acts as proof of the assassination attempt against his life.
Objection!
Uh-oh. Wow, Redhorn, I gotta admit, I'm impressed. That was almost a logical assumption. You're learning! So you still deny it, then? Oh, yeah. See, that scar doesn't really prove anything. I could have gotten that scar from anywhere, really. It doesn't have to mean anything. Unless, of course, you have proof John Seething had the same scar. No. No such proof exists. And you're just gonna have to admit defeat on this one. Getting real sick of that smile. But he's right. A scar's just a scar until we can prove where it came from. Still, I did at least gain a little bit of useful knowledge. Juror 1 was Seething's caretaker. She may be able to answer other questions later on. Is this the other point that we wanted to press the jury on?
Hold it!
Let's see if anything changes here. How do we know? Yeah, this is the point of how do we know Steele's number? Juror 1 did mention that he had a business card with him. I'd be curious if it was Manny Steele's business card. Let's pursue this. Aiden Gambit knew Manny Steele. The fact he knew his number is proof of this. I think this shows that the two of them clearly have a past together.
Objection!
When we learn to stop grasping at straws, Redhorn? Do you really think you have a better explanation for how I knew Steele's number? Go on. I'm not the one that has to do the explaining, Mr. Gambit. Pardon? After all, I think a member of the jury would like to contribute to the conversation. Isn't that right, Juror 1? Oh, what? Me? You were Mr. Gambit's caretaker. You took care of him ever since he first arrived at your orphanage. You're the one best suited to answering questions about his past. Beyond that, I remember you said something rather interesting earlier. When Aiden Gambit first entered the orphanage, he had a business card in his hand. Oh, that's right. So you're saying? I think this explains how he knew Manny Steele's phone number. Furthermore, we must ask ourselves why he even had this card to begin with. Oh, I know. It's the only thing he had on him at the time. And that must mean it was given to him by the person who left him at the orphanage. That's exactly right, Juror 5. Juror 1, do you know where that card is now? I don't know what Aiden did with his card. He wanted it for himself. I remember asking him to borrow it for a bit so I could write down the information. I wrote down the name and number in a notebook along with the memo for Aiden next to it. You want to write down all that information? Way to think ahead. Thank you. You can't be too careful with this stuff. I tried calling them about Aiden, but they weren't willing to give me too many answers. I still use that notebook to write memos to this day. It's probably still in my purse. Very well, Juror 1. Please read aloud the name that is written on the memo.
Objection.
Wait, stop! Stop this right now. Shut up! Mr. Steele, what are you doing? You don't have to say the name that was on the card. It won't prove anything. The entire line of questioning is pointless. Just drop it already. Will you shut up? What do you want from me, Justice? What will it take you to accept my confession? Do you want me to confess to the murder too? Fine, I confess. I did it. I'll do anything you want. Just don't read that name. Don't be ridiculous, Steele. Confessing to crimes you clearly didn't commit won't work. We're on the path to the truth. You can't stop us now. Why? Why would you listen to anything I have to say? Because you're a pathetic worm. Enough, Steele. They have the evidence. Just let them present it. Or be afraid of what's going to happen if they do. No, you can't. Please. Steele's getting desperate. The people are getting close to his big secret? What's so damning about the name on that card that he's trying to keep us from hearing it? Is it Steele, or is it... Enough of this, Mr. Steele. I won't have you stalling this court any longer. Juror 1, have you found the memo you wrote yet? Yes, Your Honor. Let's see here. Oh my. What? What is it? Seems the name written on the business card, eh? The man I tried calling all those years ago. Is it Cora? Name is gonna change everything. See, before we go any further, before we hit that reveal, let's theorize a second. I'm just realizing that this is cutting off the, There we go. There's an actually better, not half-assed cropping on this here. So, my late buddy old pal left me the evidence I need to ruin you. If I'm going down, then so are you. Is the name involved here? Steele. None other than Corey Rupture. Aha. What? 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 Corey Rupture had the wound on him. Corey Rupture was... Order. I will have order. What the heck is going on? I expected Steele's name to be on that card, but this... Corey Rupture saved... Corey Rupture saved, Seething years ago. Corey Rupture helped Seething disappear. What does this mean? Whoa, time out. Defense said the guy in the card was the one who left Aiden Gambit at the orphanage. So does that mean? Guess there's no point in hiding it any longer. Good job, Redhorn. You've earned it. Huh? Mean you admit it? Yep. Managed to uncover the truth. The one who took me to the orphanage was defense attorney Corey Rupture. It was him all along. That still doesn't prove I'm John Seething. Not yet, it doesn't. So what if Corey and I share a past? That doesn't mean it's the same past as John's. And now you know how I got in touch with Steele. Corey owed me a favor. In any case, I believe that requires an amendment to your testimony, Mr. Gambit. So be it. I don't get it. What does all this mean? I don't understand Steele dropping off Seething, but Rupture? Why is it him? Maybe we can find out why. Maybe there's something in the court record I can show. Figure out why Rupture would take Seething's fate into his own hands. I don't get the feeling that whatever I will find will be completely crazy. We will leave that revelation for what is possibly likely to be the finale.